If you like our content, please support us on Patreon. The link is below. Welcome to the Twisted Tentacle Inn. I'm your innkeeper, Vase Odin, and today we'll be discussing knowledge is power. Forbidden! Knowledge is Power is a level 0 seeker event from the Union and Disillusion Mythos pack. It has a willpower and an intellect icon, and it reads, Fast action. Play only during your turn. Choose a tome or spell asset you control, or reveal a tome or a spell asset from your hand. Resolve an action or free ability on that asset, ignoring all cost, including its action cost, if any. Then, if that asset was in your hands, you may discard it to draw one card. This card is very good for investigators who use spells and tomes. Not only do you essentially get an extra charge for a spell or tome at 0 cost, but you get to use that charge as a fast action. Even better, if using the spell has a cost beyond a charge or a secret, such as adding doom, you get to ignore the cost. There are many uses and interactions for this card, so let's look at some of the most significant ones. First, let's talk about who can benefit from this card. I think the investigators who can benefit most from this card are Daisy, Norman, Mandy, Carolyn, and Marie. There are others that can get some good use as well, but these 5 will have much more consistency with card interactions based on their card pools. We'll start with Old Book of Lore from the core set. Being able to search the top 3 cards of your deck and pick one to draw is very good as it is, but what if you're engaged with an enemy and don't have a way to deal with it? Playing Knowledge is Power allows you a chance to find a card that can help without having to take an attack of opportunity and still have your 3 actions to deal with the threat at the end of the turn. You can do a similar thing with Feed the Mind from the Depths of Yoth Mythos pack, potentially getting more than one card to help you, although keep in mind that Feed the Mind can only be used on yourself. Now, if my player windows are correct, you can also trigger the Esoteric Atlas from Union and Disillusion Mythos pack as a fast action when required to take a test from a card drawn during the Mythos phase, and you can move to a location where someone can help you commit cards to the test. Or you can just move to locations without having to use an action, which is still a great use of this card. In a scenario like Unspeakable Oath, this could mean the difference between your investigator being killed or being able to move on to the next scenario. You can use it to gain an extra attack and what equates to an extra charge from attack spells from various packs such as Shards of the Void from Shattered Aeons, Song of the Dead from Miskatonic Museum, and Shriveling level 0, 2, and 5 from different packs including the core set. You can also use it on level 0 Wither from the Wages of Sin Mythos pack or the level 4 version from the Before the Black Dawn Mythos pack. This not only gives you an extra attack that round, but you have a chance to lower the enemy's fight, evade, or health before even taking your first actual action. On the same token, 6 cents from the Wages of Sin pack can net you a clue before even taking your first action. Or even better, using this card on Rite of Seeking can net you 2 or 3 clues at the cost of 0 resources or charges, and all without even having to use an action. You can get the level 0 card in the Dunwich Legacy expansion, the level 2 is in the Return to Dunwich, and the level 4 is in the Union and Disillusion expansion. The interaction with Blood Pact from the Blood on the Altar Mythos pack is pretty great, as it allows you to trigger a +3 on a test without adding Doom to the card. That's actually a pretty powerful play. Blood Pact is hard to pull off consistently, but using Knowledge is Power can help you get a little bit more consistency out of such a card. Now, using it on a card like Archaic Glyphs from the Path to Carcosa Deluxe expansion can be pretty useful. You can identify the glyphs much more quickly by using Knowledge's power on it. And then once you get the upgraded versions, if you do the guiding stones from Phantom of Truth, it can get you a ton of clues, and if you use it on Prophecy Foretold from the same pack, it can get you a free clue and a free evade without having to use an action. If you're the kind of individual who's into really janky combos, you can do the Markings of Isis from the Return to the Path to Carcosa expansion, and it can basically get you the benefits of an awesomely janky, better version of Sleight of Hand. Investigating and gaining a clue without using an action, and putting an asset into play as a fast action at a 0 resource cost. If you can pull this off, it could be one of the most action-efficient moves of all time. Or you can use it with Suggestion from Black Star's Rise Mythos pack. It's already an awesome card, and it gets even better when you combine it with Knowledge's power. You can use Knowledge's power to cancel an enemy attack without using a charge, or you can trigger its ability to help you evade an enemy, adding your agility and willpower scores together, and without having to use an action or a charge to do so. Or Divermis Mysteries from Union and Disillusion, which is a tough card to get to work without a major drawback, but using Knowledge's power in conjunction with it saves you from having to put a doom on it. You also get the awesome ability to play an event from your discard pile without having to use an action. This card alone makes the normally maligned Divermis Mysteries very, very playable, and a pretty awesome combination. But if you don't want to get too crazy with it, you could just go back to basics with Encyclopedia from the core set, which is another really good choice. Getting a +2 to a skill for an entire turn without using an action is already good, but since using Knowledge's power doesn't require you to exhaust Encyclopedia, since it's a cost of using the ability, it means that you can get a +4 to a skill for the entire phase, or a +2 to 2 separate skills, or even boost the skills of 2 of your teammates by 2 for the entire phase by just spending 1 action. And if you're Daisy, you can do this and still have 3 actions left in your turn. How crazy is that? Use Knowledge's power on Scroll of Prophecies from the Search for Kadath and draw 3 cards without using an action, or 6 using just 1 action, netting you 4 total cards in 1 action after discarding the required cards. Or again, if you're Daisy, no action spent at all to draw 4 total cards. Or you can do Scroll of Secrets from the Secret Name and its higher level versions from For the Greater Good Mythos pack, and it will allow you more control over both the encounter deck and the player decks. Another handy use is to use it to clear the Necronomicon, which is Daisy's signature weakness, more quickly, allowing Daisy to clear it in 1 round and still have 2 actions left in that round. Amazing. Now, there is one card that Knowledge's power doesn't really work very well on, and that's Book of Shadows, of which the level 3 version can be found in the core set, and the level 1 version in the Unspeakable Oath Mythos pack. Using Knowledge's power on a spell directly will make the spell's effect a fast action, and it'll also save you a charge, whereas using Knowledge's power on the Book of Shadows will save you the charge, but it'll still cost you an action to use. In other words, it's infinitely better to just apply Knowledge's power directly to the spell as opposed to using it to trigger the Book of Shadows. I honestly cannot think of a situation where it would be better to do it otherwise. But if you find a reason or a way, please post it in the comments. I'd be happy to hear about it. And that does it for today's video on Knowledge's power. I do hope that you found this video helpful, and if you did, please feel free to click the like button. If you have any questions, leave them down there in the comments below, or you can email me at wickedvase@gmail.com. I'm also on Twitter @wickedvase. We're also on Patreon. Links in the description. Until next time, I am Innkeeper Vase Odin from the Twisted Tentacle Inn. Check in anytime. I'll talk to you then.